This week on KUJH, a KU student passed away in GSP last Thursday.
Marvin Hall hosts a native space event that dives deeper into the collaboration of Indigenous artwork at Chalmers Hall.
And Starbucks across the country start to unionize. How will this impact Lawrence locations? Welcome back to KUJH.
Live from the studio in Stauffer Flint at the University of Kansas, you're watching KUJHNews.
Welcome back to KUJH. I'm Anna Dennison.
And I'm Alyssa Wingo. A student was found dead in his dorm at GSP Hall Thursday evening. KU Public Safety discovered the student when they were called in for a wellness check. According to the Lawrence, Kansas Community and Police Scanner, the death was the result of cardiac arrest, but an official cause of death has yet to be released by authorities. KU Public Safety said foul play is not suspected. The man was later identified as a student of the KU Engineering School. The school's Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Mario Medina, issued a statement via email where he said, quote, "I am deeply saddened to inform you that a person found deceased in GSP Hall Thursday night was a KU engineering student. The engineering administration sends its condolences to the family and loved ones of our student," end quote. Those affected by the death are encouraged to reach out to KU Counseling and Psychological Services for help.
Next year, KU Housing has decided to re-implement sleeping porches in Watkins and Miller scholarship halls. KUJH reporter Sarah McDonough has more on the story.
Imagine reaching your hand out while in bed and accidentally bumping into another person. That's what residents in Miller and Watkins scholarship halls will have to face next year. Sleeping porches are spaces where 25 beds are fit into one room and residents sleep. But because of the pandemic, these sleeping quarters were tossed. Now, they're making a comeback.
Now that we're in a pandemic, it's like a no-brainer that you shouldn't bring it back because you run the risk of exposing that entire room.
One resident started a petition citing that sleeping porches will put their health and well-being at risk.
Everyone was really uncomfortable with it, and we noticed that it wasn't just one person or two people or half, it was the majority.
There was a meeting here in the Union for Watkins and Miller residents to voice their concerns to housing. The meeting was closed to the public. After the meeting, residents filed out.
We heard a lot of "I hear yous" and, we are working towards things, so we definitely want to see action.
The petition now has 271 signatures. For now, residents will have to wait and see how KU decides to proceed. For KUJH News, I'm Sarah McDonough.
KU Housing did not respond to a request for comment. Now let's check in with KUJH meteorologist Halen Wilhite about the weather.
Well, it certainly doesn't feel like winter out there. Temperatures have been well above in those upper 50s across the region, and so far have had a gorgeous day this evening. We've got mostly clear skies out there on KU campus at the moment, seeing most of these few of those mostly clear skies going to be continuing on throughout the evening. For this evening, I've been seeing plenty of clear skies across the region. As I mentioned before, temperatures are well above average. We've got 59 degrees in Lawrence, Kansas right now, 58 in Topeka, 55 in Leavenworth, and 59 degrees also in Ottawa, Kansas. And it's a little windy out there. We've got winds blowing between 15 to 20 miles per hour across the region with gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour as well. So a little breezy out there, but hey, so far we've reached a high of 59 degrees today, which is certainly well above our average for this time of the year, but not so close to those record of 74 degrees set back in 1943, and we'll continue to deal with these milder temperatures for the next several hours. Things will get a little bit more on that cooler side once we get into tomorrow morning, and then looking ahead for tomorrow, maybe still continue to deal with those milder conditions. But what to expect for the next couple of days, we are still, as mentioned before, going to be continuing to deal with those mild weather conditions, and also looking ahead, tracking a weekend cool down. Going to be seeing temperatures taking a little bit of a nosedive, but then maybe seeing the mild conditions come back again, and also maybe talking about a winter disturbance next week, which I'll have more details about that coming up later.
Union efforts from Kansas City Starbucks employees have been heard by employees in Lawrence. Olivia Cree has the story.
As Starbucks workers across the country are trying to unionize, many people are asking why. Early last week, employees at 2 Starbucks locations in the Kansas City metro area went public with their union organization efforts. Since a store in Buffalo, New York announced their efforts to unionize in October, 54 stores around the country have followed. I spoke to a Lawrence Starbucks barista to hear his thoughts about the unionization efforts and get some insight as to why employees want to do this.
I just think a lot of unionizing stores are they agree with the values and the stuff that Starbucks preaches and values, but they don't necessarily agree with the way that they're forcing our stores to become sort of like a binary, like a black and white.
Starbucks officials are opposing unionization efforts, but that is not stopping employees from trying.
I think baristas around town know, we wish that there was a little bit more barista representation when it comes to our identity of our stores and stuff like that. So that's definitely something that a lot of people have talked about over time.
Starbucks employees all across the country are looking to have their voices heard within the workplace.
It's important for everyone to recognize that just because you work in a chain or you work for a corporate company doesn't mean that you don't still have your own say on what you do and what you earn and how you express your job identity.
I'm Olivia Akery, reporting for KUJH News.
Olivia will continue to investigate this story as it progresses.
Now we go live to KUJH reporter Mackenzie Laporte outside of Chalmers Hall, where a new art exhibit is up. Can you tell us more, Mackenzie?
All of his work and how the pieces tie together.
Acres Talk collaborates with the Indigenous Space exhibit with Edgar Heap of Birds. This exhibit is displayed at the gallery in Chalmers Hall right here on campus. Edgar Heap of Birds and Norman Akers share this exhibit together. Edgar refers to Norman Akers as a dear friend and a colleague and appreciates this opportunity to exhibit with him. After this event, Akers gave us some advice for KU's young aspiring artists.
For any young artist, it's important that you just work and develop a good work ethic, because the reality is that while you're in school, you've got classes that sort of motivate you to make the work, and you have clear deadlines, but when you're out of school, you don't have that.
Edgar hopes this native space gives young Indigenous artists a place to belong.
Friday, February 11th. Reporting for KUJH, I'm Mackenzie Laporte.
Coming up after the break, Haskell Indian Nations University is helping more Native American students pursue science degrees. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to KUJH. We're sending it over to our reporter, Johan Marin, who has the story on a program helping Native American students pursue science degrees.
Thank you, Alyssa. An institute at the Haskell Indian Nations University is helping more Native American students pursue advanced science degrees. Let's take a look.
Honestly, the HERS program was extremely instrumental to the trajectory of where I am now.
This is Annalise Guthrie, a former 2021 summer HERS intern. HERS, otherwise known as the Haskell Environmental Research Studies Institute, is an institute that is helping Native American undergraduate students pursue science degrees at a graduate level. An institute that Guthrie says helped her develop skills she now uses as an ecology and evolutionary biology doctorate student at the University of Kansas.
I honestly didn't have very much experience with writing, and that's actually a really big problem in science in general.
Katrina McClure, the program coordinator of HERS, says the institute serves to strengthen skills and help students feel more comfortable in the work they do.
They're always writing, they're always sharing material with each other, working through the method, polishing that material. and then also thinking about the design aspect.
For Guthrie, however, she sees hers as an opportunity for students to solve Indigenous issues regarding climate change and more Indigenous representation.
It's really important that we get Indigenous scholars into graduate school so we can work on those issues that are happening in Indian country.
Now, as an Indigenous scholar, one of Guthrie's plans this summer is to mentor and prepare future HERS interns for graduate school. Reporting for KUJH, I'm Johan Marin.
If you are a Native American undergraduate student pursuing a science degree and are interested in the HERS program, go to www.hersinstitute.org for more information. Back to you, Anna and Alyssa.
Kansas played a big role in the civil rights movement. KUJH reporter Gabriel Johnson takes a look at some African American history in the state.
With February being Black History Month, people and organizations all across the country are celebrating African American heritage. The Abandoned Atlas Foundation is an organization that preserves the history of once historic buildings in Kansas.
The Abandoned Atlas Foundation is relatively new. We created it in the sense of wanting to preserve history and educate people on the history of these abandoned sites.
There are 5 African American heritage sites featured by the Abandoned Atlas Foundation. One of the oldest featured sites is the St. Simon Episcopal Church of Topeka.
It is in the last stages of restoration. I'm very happy it's being preserved. You know, the building itself holds a lot of not only Topeka history, but, you know, African American history as well.
African American heritage in Kansas doesn't end with churches. 2 elementary schools in Topeka may be the most well-known in the advancement of equal education.
Behind me was Monroe Elementary School, which at the time was one of just 4 elementary schools for Black students in the Topeka area. 3rd grader Linda Brown had a long and dangerous commute to class every day, so Linda and her parents began the enrollment process at the all-white Sumner Elementary School. And it was here at Sumner where Brown was denied, which led to the Brown v. Board of Education case, which ended segregation in all schools in 1954.
Thinking, you know, back to the Monroe School or Sumner, which is, you know, at risk of being demolished. If that building had been demolished and not saved and not turned into what it is today, that part of history would have been gone. There's only so much that you can do and educate people on through, you know, some words on a page. Pictures and video and like being able to see it in person really tell a different story.
For those interested in learning more about the Abandoned Atlas Foundation and some of the historical African American heritage sites, head to abandonedkansas.com. Reporting for KUJH, I'm Gabriel Johnson.
Many of the historical sites are available to the public for those interested. Just head to their website at www.abandonedkansas.com.
Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is left without a head coaching job after former coach Brian Flores' lawsuit against the league. While Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is left without a head coaching job, many wonder if his race plays a factor for hiring NFL teams. NAACP President Derek Johnson explains.
We're looking now up until just a few days ago, only one African-American coach in the league. African-American coaches can be as successful as any other coach, but they have to be provided an opportunity. And up until this point, they have not been provided an opportunity.
After former head coach Brian Flores' lawsuit against the NFL, teams may look at Bieniemy come next offseason. Coming up after the break, Halen Wilhite is walking us through the weather for next week. Stay with us.
Welcome back and good evening, everyone. Temperatures are very much above average right now. We've currently got upper 50s for across the region. We've got Lawrence still holding on to 59 degrees. We've got 50 degrees in Columbia, Missouri, 58 degrees in Springfield, Missouri, and 57 degrees across in Hays, Kansas. Seeing plenty of some warm weather across the region as we've been dealing with these high pressure systems currently off in the west and in the central part of the United States. That's what's been keeping us really more on that dry to milder side, but we have been seeing a little bit of some clouds starting to push in through the area, but not going to be expecting any kind of precipitation with these clouds as these are high up in the atmosphere and only leaving us with some fair conditions for the rest of this evening. So far we've got mostly clear conditions for the rest of this evening. Temperatures will slowly but surely finally be breaking down into those upper 40s, and eventually by 11 o'clock we've got about 41 degrees. Those winds will also really start to trickle down a little bit more once we get further on into this evening. Now, temperatures will be bottoming out at a low of 31 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Overall, a little bit more on the chillier side as we're still dealing with those north winds blowing at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Also, can't rule out a possibility of a little bit of precipitation in those early morning hours of Thursday. Maybe seeing a little bit of a sprinkle ahead of this boundary we're going to be tracking, but going to be staying mostly dry for the most part. But once we get into tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be seeing those 50s making a return, although a little bit more on the cooler side, but still mostly sunny conditions and overall very comfortable conditions for tomorrow. And also winds shifting from the north to the south-southwest at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. And so looking ahead for the next couple of days, we're still going to be dealing with those mild conditions until about the weekend, where we're actually going to be seeing a little bit of a change. We're going to see temperatures finally taking a nosedive going into Saturday, a little bit of some cooler air, but also too, even further on, we may be still dealing with those mild conditions again going into this first half of next week, and then also going into midweek, tracking a little bit of this winter disturbance. Can't quite pinpoint if it is going to be a winter disturbance, as the tract of this system may still want to go north and give us a little bit more rain or so, but also too, some models are indicating it could push a little bit more to the south, and where we could see temperatures getting a little bit below freezing, and also seeing the possibility of that wintry precipitation as well. This is still about a week and a half out, so we can't quite say this is going to happen, but it's definitely something that we're going to keep a very close eye on in the next coming days as we get more models moving in. But definitely could be expecting maybe a little bit of some rainy, wintry disturbances going into next Wednesday, maybe going into Thursday as well. But as I mentioned before, still going to be keeping a close eye on that. And also too, once for the rest of this couple of days, still dealing with those mild conditions in those lower 50s, and eventually going back into those upper 50s for Friday. And then as I mentioned before, Saturday, temperature is taking quite a nosedive, only going to be seeing a high of 30 degrees. And then by Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, upper 40s will be making a comeback, and then eventually finally settling back in with those 50s and eventually 60s going into Tuesday. And then as I mentioned before, that little bit of that wintry disturbance could be coming in, and also seeing temperatures taking a nosedive again, maybe seeing the upper 20s make a return also. But here's a little bit just kind of like of a trend of what we've been seeing for the last couple, or at least what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of days, compared with our averages. Still taking a little bit of a nosedive going into Saturday, but still well above average temperatures for the next couple of days. So definitely get out and enjoy it while it lasts. Now stay tuned for be sure to stay tuned for some updates in sports.
I'm Caroline Soro, and welcome to KUJH Sports. The past few weeks have been full of ups and downs for Kansas athletics, but today we start with a recent holiday in the sports world, National Girls and Women in Sports Day. This holiday recognizes women from all areas of sport, whether it be on the sidelines, the court, or the field. KUJH Sports sat down with the KU alumna and female athletes from almost every sport on campus about being a woman in sports.
They have the confidence on the court or on the field, right? Like we see that. And it's being able to find that confidence, to tap into that and bring it off of the court or off of the field.
They're always like, you play like a girl, you're not as good because you're a girl.
I think it's important to remember that we're created uniquely. We're created for a purpose and for a reason.
We are also talented and skilled too, and that I would hope that it's just like a given that women can do just as much as men.
While there are clear boundaries to being a woman in a male-dominated sports world, both Oakman and female athletes at KU encourage young girls to push past the stereotypes and keep working hard.
It's been, nice to see like the growth of women's sports and, women in sports. And so it's been great, especially for, women of color and just women in general.
Some people just don't have these opportunities to do any sports in general.
Keep going, work hard, train hard, because there'll be someone out there that sees that you can put in the effort and put results up.
Stay true to yourself. Know that you're just as strong, if not better.
You have the grit and you're already doing the same thing all of the men are doing.
It needs to be 365 days that we're recognized, that we are hired, and that we are paid, and that we are valued. It shouldn't be a Hallmark card day of, hey, tag your girls. It's just, we should be beyond that.
National Girls and Women in Sports Day honors the hard work these women put in, the progress they've made in the sports world, and continues to fight for gender equality in sports. So a big thank you to Laura Oakman and our female athletes at KU for all that you do. Next up, Kansas softball season is here, and Andrew Lind has more.
The Jayhawks are just 2 sleeps away from their first competitive softball game in nearly 4 months. I was at Oroka Ballpark yesterday to find out what the team is looking forward to and what their expectations are.
We're ready for Friday to be here. We're ready to get in the airport, hop on a plane, and go to Phoenix.
4 new players joined the Kansas softball roster, and this weekend will be the first real time the rookies play with the returners under the lights.
We all play really well together, and we all have there's a bunch of moving parts that I think will be added this year, and I think there will be a lot of playing time for everyone.
Playing time is a must, but it starts on the road as the team finds itself there for the first month of the season, but they see it as an advantage.
I think us being on the road will be helpful. It'll knock off the rust. It'll be a checkpoint, and my coach mentioned a couple days ago that it was like a report card, and we'll see where we're at.
1 year ago, the Jayhawks heavily struggled in Big 12 play, winning just 2 games. And Anderson says this season will be about being locked in for all 7 innings.
I think something that we can do a lot better on is holding down the gas pedal. Sometimes we give up late in the game, or we kind of lay back and stay back instead of just keep going.
KU softball wants people to forget about the prior seasons and to focus on what's right in front of them.
We're tired of being seen as the bottom of the Big 12. We just hope to earn the respect that we deserve and the respect that we've worked for.
KU softball plays on Friday in Phoenix, Arizona against Northern Colorado and Bradley. Now KUJH Sports' Reese Dunker is standing outside of David Booth Memorial Stadium with an update on Kansas football's offseason improvements. Reese?
Staff are trying to do. Dating back to September 26th, Kansas has signed 7 transfers, including 4 from Big Ten programs. Those players include corner Kalen Gervin, safety Craig Young, and a pair of running backs in Savion Morrison and Kai Thomas. What's the difference between recruiting a college transfer versus a high school guy?
So college kids are obviously going to have more verifiable tape at a collegiate level. They're going to be fully grown into their body, so their measurables are going to be easier to find. And the actual film and data that you have is going to be more realistic.
Kansas dipping their feet in the transfer portal is nothing new. What's new is the level of transfers they're getting. The Jayhawks have gotten stronger this offseason, that's a certainty. Now we'll just wait to see how it translates on the field. Reporting from outside David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium, this is Reese Dunker with KUJHNews. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks for the update, Reese. Now we're going to take a quick break before we get back to Anna and Alyssa.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
This next Monday is Valentine's Day. It's that time of finding the roses that are red or the violets that are blue. But how much should you spend on Valentine's? Well, that's up to you. The National Retail Federation estimates that this Valentine's Day Americans will spend almost $24 billion in gifts for their loved ones, which is the second highest spending year recorded since 2007.
We have people that'll come in and spend $30. We have people that will come in and spend $230. It all depends on what that individual's comfort level is.
Despite whatever comfort level a customer might be at, the preparation for flower shops with orders to be ready in time is at its crucial peak.
Shipping has a lot to do with it. You know, the price of shipping has gone sky high. Having to ease into making prices higher because you can't really jump large quantity.
Spends, it's always the thought that counts.
You are buying someone the happiness for the time that when it's delivered. If you achieved a smile on their face, that's what you want.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I would definitely prefer flowers over most other things on Valentine's Day. They're a quintessential Valentine's Day present for sure.
For sure. I'd much rather have flowers over chocolates or like a teddy bear or something like that. They're just fun to have around the house and they smell good.
Yeah, well, good luck to the flower shops before Valentine's Day comes up, and thank you for watching KUJH. Tune in next week at 4 p.m.
For more coverage, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and to visit our website at tv.ku.edu.
Have a good evening.